Hey you folks, I'm Cloaked Games, and welcome to another dev stream. I'm doing a really strange thing. I am making I guess it's a level editor, it's a kind of level designer tool, but it will not produce the level, it's just for design work. So I can draw maps. The basic idea is, let's open a Sprite and find out from our pixel art last stream. Here it is. I did all this stuff, okay? I made this shenanigans, where I was drawing these doors and locks and keys by hand. And I'm gonna need to do a lot of this, all right? Oh, hello, Mr. OTL. It's just, you're fine. I'm gonna need to do this more than just this one stream. I'm gonna need to do it a ton, on stream and off stream. And I thought, you know what? This is just the right chance to make a tool that does this for me. I'm a programmer, I'm a UI designer. I have a pretty darn good reason to make a tool like this. Now, this doesn't come out of nothing. I do want to show one thing. Oh no, did I? Give me a second. This fellow on Twitter in 2020 posted a tweet I thought was the coolest thing ever. I'm gonna show it. There's my chat. This is their map editor, Aaron's, I don't remember how to pronounce that. Aaron. And they've got this little grid here. They can draw rooms, and let me go find some of the other tweets of the same genre. We can scroll past the lovely pixel art. And here we see them making different sized rooms, drawing little doors between them. And then these things here have drop downs for like icons and locks and keys. And this one lets you draw text on a certain room. So what I have in mind is different than this, but this is like the basic idea, is that you can draw rooms and connect them. And then I can do all of this easily. I don't have to just draw it by hand. I can just draw around on the grid, I can zoom in and out, I can pan around, I can make locks and keys. And then, initially I was like, that's silly though, I could just use graph paper on hand. Like, that would be good for a stream, but by hand, graph paper is fine, right? However, I'm also an algorithm programmer, and for Arborshire, I'm gonna need to know some of those dungeon algorithms. And so I can implement them in the dungeon design tool and just give them the designer access to them. And so let me explain what I mean by algorithms. For instance, I can have a dungeon solver that will just draw for you the solution from the start to the finish, where you have to go, where you have to get keys, which doors you can take. I can have an algorithm that checks how far two locations are between the dungeon. I can have it highlight backtracking. I can have it highlight dead ends. I can have it highlight possible softlocks. Yeah. So that's what I'm kind of hoping to make, is a thing that I can draw dungeons with, and a thing that will give me more information about that dungeon that I normally have to do in my head, like I was the other stream day when I was like here start to finish, counting the keys, counting the doors. So yeah, I want to make a tool that does that. And so I'm going to actually try. I don't know, I might only get through the design phase and not end up sticking with it, but we will find out. And it all begins with graphs. This will not be a math lecture, that's actually my own reference. I need to reference it, but I won't go over that on stream. That's graphs. You can go take a computer science class if you want it. Let me take a sip of water and then I'll start talking about this document. Yeah, it was more than a sip, I was thirsty. Okay, here's my PIR, my project information something, I don't remember what it was called, project something. It's probably not even that acronym. I forgot. I took a systems design class, I know what I'm talking about. It's not really that, it's just a planning document. I'm calling it Sepulcher, which is a word some of you may know I quite like. It's just another word for like a grave. It's like, hold on, let me find a picture. Oops, like that. Find an image. It's these kind of things, little domed tombs, or yeah, etc. So it's also a word that I would consider as a word for dungeon kind of thing, in terms of dungeon being very abstract. Hey-o, Casmon. Welcome in, welcome in. We are making a dungeon or metroidvania level editor. Not an editor, a level designer. I'll call it that, a level designer. It won't actually make the level, it's just for designing them. So here's some of the features that I've been thinking about, though this section is very incomplete. But I need a canvas to place rooms, I need a pan to be able to reset the camera, I need to be able to zoom in and out so I can show different parts of it. I need to be able to select rooms and delete, maybe cut, copy, and paste. That's kind of not as necessary, but if I can get it to work, that'd be neat. Undo and redo would be really handy. Definitely saving and loading maps. That's a high priority so that I can keep them around. And then within the dungeon, there's like, you know, dungeons. The trouble with level designers is any particular level designer will... I'm going to turn the music down slightly. Any particular level designer will work well for the type of game it's meant to make. Macro grid plotter? Sure, you can call it that, yeah. Yeah, so I basically, Casmon, I want to make a tool that lets me do these kind of drawings that I did on the previous live stream. Without having to draw them all manually. Yeah, any level editor or level designer is really good at making that one specific type of level, but nothing else. So, that's the benefit of doing it myself. I am making this tool to make Arborshire, which means I'm picking the features based on what I want to be in Arborshire. Anything extra? Well, I might make it open source. Someone else can make a pull request if they want to add extra features. But if I don't need it for Arborshire, I'm not implementing it right now. This is for me, but I'll make it open source because maybe someone else will find it useful. So these are some of the things that I was thinking about. This is more of a brainstorm, like joined rooms, shortcuts, one-way doors. I'll need those things to work with. Some of these things make the dungeon solver much more complicated, like one-way doors. And fungible keys are not trivial. Especially since locks and keys can also make a dungeon that could be solved one way but would break if you solved it a different way. So that's one thing I might be interested in detecting with my dungeon solver and indicating to the designer. Hey, if the player uses that key on that door, you will get stuck. They will softlock. That'd be handy to know. Is this... whatever it's called. That one town? Oh. It said menu at a forest for the entire stream, so GameChops doesn't know what song they're playing today. Multiple floors is bonus because I don't think Arborshire will have multiple floors. Kind of. That's a rabbit hole. That's a whole can of worms. I'll talk about that later. Right now, this is definitely like a low priority issue because I don't think I'm gonna have multiple floors. But I do want to design it so that adding multiple floors later wouldn't be that big of a deal because maybe I change my mind. Then some of these things I pulled from Wiggly's post on Twitter. So changing the color for any particular regions, you can be like, oh, those rooms are green, those rooms are brown. That's not so much a dungeon design thing, but it can both help you organize rooms, like so you can mark boss rooms as red, or you can mark like one side of the dungeon one color, one side of the dungeon another color, if it's helpful, just for understanding it. But it is important for Metroidvanias. And Metroidvanias are almost indistinguishable from Zelda dungeons in their like core design, which gives a excellent opportunity to just cover both bases. So for that, biomes are entirely essential because of how Metroidvanias are laid out. Stamps are like, we can add a sword or a skull icon or a treasure chest icon to any given room, just to indicate like, you know, like map stamps in open world games, just to indicate what kind of thing might be in that room. They don't necessarily need to mean anything specific, but I'll make a half dozen little different stamp icons that the designer can use on their level to indicate what something might be. And they can assign their own meanings to those things. And then having labels in rooms, right? labels in rooms, just to be able to also give them a name or give them a description. Probably the name would show always on the map, or maybe there's a toggle for hiding them. And then the description would show up if you hover your mouse over the room. One-way doors are not as hard as you think. I've helped with that before. And adding multi-floor systems, just adding a new layer in doors, ladder tiles. Yes, you're correct. I do know how to do one-way doors. The complication is just that if and in regards to the adding floors, I also know how to do that. Both of those things are just things that do make it slightly more tricky, and so they're not necessarily considered in scope for the first version of this. That's all I'm trying to do, is limit the scope of this so that I can finish a tool and then decide if I need those other features. Multi-floors are in some ways indistinguishable from one-floor dungeons because you just attach them vertically, right? You just make it three-dimensional instead of two-dimensional. That's fine. The reason my multi-floors are more complicated is that can of worms that we'll talk about some other stream. But yeah, one-way doors are pretty naturally supported by how I implement the graph. It does make some of the navigational algorithms a bit trickier because it means you can't guarantee that a dungeon is solvable from any given position just because they're all connected, right? That's one thing that it changes. And so for detecting soft locks and fail states of a dungeon, one-way doors make it much more tricky. Not even getting into multi-states, which I definitely want to support. That's not even, I think, in this list, but yeah. So then here's some of these things I mentioned. A dungeon solver, like an error, like almost a compile error for, hey, this dungeon is unsolvable, right? Like missing keys. I could have specific mentions like not enough keys, or the locations are disconnected, or and same for like reporting soft locks, which would be really handy as a designer to just have that be automated. Why not? I can do that, at least most of it. Now, whether the dungeon is good or fun, that's still the designer's job, but at least they don't have to worry about the math of it. Same for backtracking. One thing I really like to do when I'm designing a dungeon is plot out the solution path and then look every time where it backtracks on itself to make sure that that never happens more than twice and that those backtrack distances are kept as short as possible. That's one thing I can automate, right? Just show this room gets backtracked through a whole bunch of times. You might want to add a shortcut, right? And that way then the designer can tweak things around and immediately see the effect it has on the critical path. Critical path is the same term. It's a synonym for solution in this case. It would be interesting, actually, critical path exploration indicator. Aesthetics. The exploration path is like any path that's optional off the critical path, the solution path. That would be interesting if I could show the critical path and all of the branching exploration paths. So maybe I'll do that. For customization options, recoloring. I think it would be great to have it'd be great to be able to decide what color you want the critical path to be, for instance. That way that the designer can use their own standards for it, because I think everybody has their own sets of colors. Like I tend to use yellow for the critical path and orange for the exploratory path, and then I use green for keys, and then red and blue or purple and orange for, or red and teal for multi-state color blocks. Yeah. Backtracking is not bad for puzzle / maze type dungeons. Correct. However, too much backtracking gets monotonous. So you want just the right amount, and that's why highlighting backtracking would be handy, because as the level designer, then you can just immediately see where is there heavy backtracking, where could I add some more in, right? And just tweak things more streamlined, right? You don't have to do the whole route in your head every time you make a change. That's the real goal here. Now, I will still do a dungeon designer even if I don't get to the dungeon solver element, because that's still handy, just as a notation software as a replacement for this. But if I can get to those algorithms and the dungeon solver, etc., that would be really, that's where this becomes like a really good idea and not just handy. Some terms, we'll skip that. I don't know if they're true anymore. System design. Okay, so I did this morning, so I'm going to go through it on stream just to... Yeah, route markers might be a smart idea. Yes. And that could also give you basically feedback on like, what I want to know is like, hey, I want to be able to click on 2 rooms and have it draw the shortest path or maybe every possible short path between 2 locations. So I can be like, oh, okay, you can go from here to here. That's the fastest way. Now, in a small dungeon, that's pretty easy to do in your head. It's just a simple maze. But being able to place them down and then make changes to the dungeon to see how it's reflected, that's an evolution on the normal graph paper style of design. And now, the thing is, I'm also pretty sure a tool like this definitely exists somewhere. Just not one well-suited for my specific needs that I could find that was free on the internet, that was easily searchable. I'm quite sure Nintendo, for instance, has something like this. There's no way they don't have a tool that does something like this for their dungeon designers. I could be wrong. Maybe they're just sticking there on graph paper and whiteboards, but it seems to me like this is an obvious thing to do, now that I've thought of the idea. I ate too much dead food at dinner today. Just kind of a little bit overfull. One moment. Okay, one moment over, I'm back. Okay, so what I have here is a couple different data structures, and they're all stacked inside of each other. So a dungeon is the entire file, and it contains a list of floors. That's it. That's pretty much all I need. If you add a solver, we'll be able to make a map of the layout. I'm not totally sure what you mean by that. If you could elaborate, that'd be great. But the idea is that you make a map, and then the solver can show you how to solve the map. Actually, that comment does make me think of... Mark Brown, Game Maker Toolkit, has a CS map, not a layout map. Okay. I'm closer to what you're thinking, but okay, so like you're thinking like exporting it as a... So, okay, internally, it's going to be something like a map. I mean, I'm treating it like a graph, but the way it will be implemented is as, well, probably a bunch of embedded arrays. But when I save the file, it will become a map. And then you could load it in something else. So while this tool itself won't be a level editor, just a level designer, I could make a different tool that took a map exported by Sepulcher and turned it into a level editor. Which would be pretty neat. Like I can have GenScripts do that, for instance. GenScript import Sepulcher files, that would be incredibly neat. So a dependency graph, Mark Brown style, is... Let me see if I can actually find it. Brown dungeon graph. Here we go. There are map solvers that run nodes and links to solver distance. Yes, that's how I will do it. I think we're using different terminology. In my brain, that's a graph. But yes. And I can use Jigstraw's algorithm and every other graph algorithm. Here they all are. Look at all these things. all of this works on a dungeon graph too. Here we go. So this is Mark Brown, Game Maker's Toolkit, a early and important influence on my understanding of Zelda dungeon design. Though I have my own ideas now that differ. Don't totally agree with him anymore, but I did it in the past, and it was a really important resource for me. So the way he does it, so here's his dungeon. So he makes the dungeon map, and then every little section you turn into one line. So this entrance, this becomes a line, and then all of these side chutes, you make things here. And then you can build the next section and the next section, down and down. And so you basically take the whole graph, you take it, so it's a graph, right? You turn it into a tree. That's what you're doing in computer science terms. So you're holding it by the entrance, you're pulling that up, and then stretching it horizontally and vertically in a nice row, so that you can immediately tell from the final ending how the player progresses, right? So right from the get-go, they can get to this check with the bow, but they can't actually do it. So they go like this. And basically, from left to right is chronological to where the player can see something, and from right to left is how they solve it. So this is a pretty useful way of also seeing graphs, of seeing dungeons, which is something I did do with some of the last Librarian dungeons after I finished making the whole game. I went back and analyzed some of them with this technique out of curiosity. And yeah. And you can also see the difference in a simple linear dungeon like this one, where there's a lock and a key and a lock, or sorry, key and a lock and a key and a lock and a key and a lock, or something more tricky like this one, where there's a whole bunch of blocked paths, and then you get one thing, and then you get another thing, and then you get this key item, and there's like, yeah, there's a bunch going on here, right? But yeah, so it would be interesting to also be able to generate one of these. That's a totally like down the line feature, but that's what this means, and I will bear it in mind. This is definitely pinned in my other folder, so I will not pin it here. Okay, so internally, this is some comp sci stuff now. We've got a dungeon which contains a list of floors, and the floors contain an array, a 2D array of rooms, so they're on a grid, okay? That is these. So here's a floor. This whole thing is a floor. And then these are rooms. The blue ones are rooms. The empty ones are just empty cells in the rooms array. So then a room contains all the information about how it connects with adjacent rooms. So it's got its own position, because that's handy for back referencing it. Because I think a lot of stuff is going to get a room and then query that room about adjacent rooms. That's how every algorithm is going to traverse the graph. In which case, it is often very convenient to just have this stuff stored locally. So when you add a room to the floor, you put it in this position, and you tell the room where it is in its own data structure. This isn't entirely strict, but yeah. Graphs and maps are similar. Maps have more data in the node or link. Maps are the type of graph that can have more than one graph in it. You have a graph of floors within a map. Okay, well in that case, this is a map by your definition. All the graph algorithms apply to it. And that's just how I learned to think about it. So then a room is also going to have a list of its doors, which is to say its connections with other rooms. And I thought about this just being like an up, left, right, down kind of thing. Graphs of graphs. All right, interesting. Kind of works. But I think I'm just going to have it have a list of every connection. And that will be another data type down here, which is a door or a connection. And the reason for that is that I could add things like portals, or like room portals to another room, in which case having just 4 up, left, right, down doesn't work anymore. And direction doesn't matter for graphs. The fact that they're arranged in a grid for a Zelda dungeon is convenient for visualizing it, but not necessary for graphs. That's what's lovely about graphs. They're much more flexible. And so I'm going to treat it like a graph internally, but it will be restricted to going up, left, right, down in most cases. So then the door itself can have a type. So like if it's a door, or if it's a join, will mean 2 rooms are combined into a bigger room. that will be a door between them that's labeled as a join. It will render that way. And then any graph traversal algorithms will treat them as the same as the same node instead of separate nodes. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to implement that, but I'm just going to write getters and setters. I'm going to write methods to access everything and perform all these graph steps. And once it's implemented, I never have to think about it again. So I don't need to think about it now. I'm just trying to figure out what I want these all to do. So the door then is going to have its target cell, target floor. If I had references, this would actually just be a reference to a room. GameMaker doesn't have references yet. There might be a way to do this as a reference, but I don't remember how to do it. So instead, it'll store this door, and then get target room will just call get room on this floor with this X cell, target Y cell, target floor, right? Yeah. So then there's these types, none, door, join, portal. Anything else can be tacked onto that, easy. And they might affect how the graph traversal algorithm works. Mostly it will just affect how they're rendered. I'm not still sure how to do locks and keys. Maybe we'll talk about that on stream. I'll do that next. And then enum door dir, direction, right, up, left, down. So even though the doors themselves can be anywhere, since most of the time the user will be adding something up, left, right, or down of a particular room, I still want to be able to have that as a tool. So we have set door will accept a direction, and then it will just handle this part on its own. Then you have set door extra, which you specify exactly which room you mean. And it will not find it for you, you have to say. So that's what these two different setters are for. This one is what's actually happening behind the scenes. This one is convenience, basically. Hydrate break. Also, Mario Galaxy music. Okay, so let me think a little bit now. Are you actually using absolute or relative direction system? So that's a good question. This isn't a GMC Jam game? You're right, Avinsky, it isn't. I'm taking a break from GMC Jam. But I'm here. I'm here working on games anyways, in solidarity with y'all. And since I said I would ask, Avinsky, what are you working on for the Game Jam? Let the chat know. Casmon, I'll have to come back to that question because I do not know yet. A game? Impossible. I didn't expect a game from you. I expected a high caliber shitpost. You're letting me down, dude. It's called Raccoon Rampage. Nice. I love the alliteration. And I love raccoons, including you. I like this song. Oh. That's all I can share right now. Pat has a gun to your head. Oh man. Oh man. Things are getting tense in the GMC Jam. Oh man, yeah, I hope it's not too stressful for you, Vinsky. And I look forward to playing all the games. But yeah, so if I have a defined north, then you should use absolute. Yeah, I probably will do that. It'll just be more convenient. Up, you know. But again, this is just a design tool, so the specifics of like how the dungeon fills space is not relevant. It's just for design, right? If someone wants to implement it, then they'll have to do some interpretation on how it fills space to actually do that. But today was insane, had power outages and shit. Oh man. Yikes, that's not what you want ever, but not during a game jam. It's the worst. But yeah, I hope that all goes smoothly. There's one more day. One more full day is tomorrow. So the last, yeah, today's Saturday. So it ends on Monday morning at 5 a.m. my time. So I always just think of Sunday night, that's the deadline. I try not to stay up late, but I have historically. Time to play with music? Oh yeah, I remember you were doing that earlier today. Hope that goes well, Casmon. Have fun. Casmon, if you get like a little work in progress version or a finished thing, send me a audio file on Discord. I'll take a listen. Yep, gaming is coming along nicely also. Very good, very good. So chatting is the priority, but while there's pause in the chat, despite the interruptions, yeah. While there's pause in the chat, I will think about how to do locks and keys at a structural level. I'm gonna go work on something different. Okay, to do that. All right, cool. Cool. Yeah, I hope to hear something if you manage it. It'll be fun. What is rock Sprite? Oh, I'll have to fiddle with that later. Okay, so I'm gonna draw a diagram because even though I'm trying to make a tool to mean I don't have to draw diagrams, until I've made that tool, I must still draw. Okay, I'm gonna have you in the background. Nice. Good luck in your game jam work. Pop in when you have fun memes to share. Cool. I always love your memes. Thank you for being here. Okay, so we've got a dungeon. What is this? I don't like it. No, I need this to be smaller. Wait, hold on a second. I can just make a new one. I don't need this. Nope, smaller. I don't know why it's opposite of what I expect. Okay, so here we've got okay, that needs to be a little bit bigger. 16. Dungeon. And it contains a list of floors. I'll just draw 2. 4. I like this song. This will be Oh, what do you have? Do you know the song? We have a fun meme. Okay, so then a floor is going to have a big old grid of rooms. And I'm going to make it marquee M. I'm gonna put some more space between them for future purposes. Oh no, I forgot to make a layer. As always. Because I forget there are layers because I'm using a new tool. Layers. Just make it work for now. And then I will erase it. Actually, I'll just remove all white and blue and add a layer below this. Shift N. Can I move it down? Not like that. Wait, layer. Let's just do. No. I don't know. I'll just, I don't care. I'll figure it out later. What is paint bucket? G? Boom. Okay, this will be fine. I'll go back to this layer and just use it for now. Nice. Just looking through, like, scrolling up makes it smaller, but that's fine. So then, rooms are gonna have references to adjacent rooms. So this is a two-way door of any given type, right? I'll make this into a full maze with these 4. Wait, this is a Secret of Mana song. Oh, it's okay. First he skips the jam, now he's not noticing my game? What? Wait, did you post it somewhere? Yo, Tenny, what's up? It's going well. I'm designing a tool for making dungeons. Link in the chat? Oh, the link got deleted, Ivinsky. DM it to me. There's no link on my end. I'll see if I can disable that. But yes, I'd love to see your game. Very cool, excited to see it? Nice, yes. It's gonna be neat. I just want to do what we were doing on the previous stream. This with a software instead. And here's a lovely DM from Ivinsky. Let's take a peek. Joke's on you. I have YouTube disc muted. But I'll give you an 80% on that one. Because I really thought... I really thought... that it might be legitimate. But from you, I should have suspected the worst. There you go, a little bit for the audience. If I don't get copyrighted. It's funny you mentioned graph paper being obsolete, because I come up with my own replacement for D&D maps. I've been using Excel with square cells lately. That's funny. Yeah, that works. Yeah, I actually did that for Daughter of Dreams for a few things. Excel with square cells. What I'm hoping to do is more robust than that. Though it's not for D&D maps, it's for a different style, so it doesn't quite as matter, but... This is... whatever, KK slider. Vocaloid is kind of funny. Slurp. Okay, so inside a floor we've got rooms. Meow, meow, meow. And they're cross-linked like this, so this is like a maze. Some of them are gonna have flags, such as start. Now that is not readable. And end. So let me find my notes. flags will be this doesn't make sense. Hold on. Okay, so one thing I definitely want is for start and end flags, right? So that's going to define the official start and end of the dungeon. Let me think. I suppose you would just basically have the solution path will be drawn. And there's a nice yellow. Here we go. Solution path would always just be drawn between the start and the end. Chocobo. This is exploratory path. It's the orange. So this would just be drawn between the start and the end. And then you could take the start or the end and drag it to a different room. Okay, so then I guess that let me think. Any door could also have a lock on it. So it's just a different type, right? So let's say here is a locked door. It's like this. I'm not going to change the critical path for this example. I will eventually. Here's a locked door. So you would, like, I don't know, click on the door and make it a locked door. Implementation-wise, I'm stuck, but I know what I want it to look like. Here's a locked door. Here's a key. The gray ones would like say they'd start gray. Gray keys would be fungible, which is to say any key works for any lock. Nice. Breath of the Wild. Is that right, or is this something else? So the gray keys, they'd start gray. And then the idea is that you could take any key and drag it to a lock and they would pair. If they're paired, then they become the same color and symbol and they match up. And then based on this comment, that's what this idea is. You can drag any number of keys to one lock or any number of locks to one key, but not both. And that lets you turn the fungible keys into either unique keys, like a switch or something, one-time switch, or a key item. So like getting the bombs, that now lets you open up those 5 doors. Okay, so I was just thinking about another thing based on the prototype, which, reminder for anyone, if you get a chance and you're not in the next few weeks, definitely try out the prototype, is to be able to show a solution path between any 2 points. So not just like a start and ending, but any arbitrary 2 points. You can just add a solution path, right? And then also be able to click on the start of the solution path and change the start locations, start conditions. It's gonna be like, this solution path starts with a key. And that way you can compare multiple runs in the same dungeon. Okay, so another idea I'm thinking about is how the actual like UI works. Because I want to get that sorted out so that as I implement it, it's not absurd. This would be easier with more pictures, but we'll go with it for now. Kind of tired. I mean, it is relatively late at night. Drink water. Okay, so we've got a few ways we can interact. Oh my god. I just hit Control A. So I'm going to use mGUI for this tool, which means I can actually do a pretty powerful UI editor UI without too much extra work. It won't be efficient, but this is a design tool. It does not matter. So we're going to have a main menu and a context menu. The main menu is always there and just has drop downs for doing things. The context menu will pop up for when you have clicked on something. So like GameMaker's Inspector. So you like select a room, context menu for that. Select a doorway, context menu for that. And that will let you quickly click on something, click over here to make a change to it. Or like type in the name of a room, right? And then there's a third way you can interact is with the mouse. So you can like click on stuff on the canvas. You can click and drag to do things. Right click will probably be erase because that's what I'm familiar with GameMaker's level editor. Left click to add things, right click to erase things, middle click for controlling the camera. So I'll actually do that. Zoom. So scrolling wheel zooms the camera. Middle click pans the camera. That's easy. So now there's a few different things you can left click on it and add, right? Left click on empty cell, create a room. So if we're here and this is our dungeon, what it looks like, and we click there, it becomes just like this, boom. Click there, boom. So then the second thing I want to do is if you click and drag to adjacent rooms, it will always join them with the newly set. So you want to make 4 rooms at once, just like that, and then these all become one big room like this. Boom, there we go, I did it. No. Whatever, it's close enough, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's the other thing. So if you click and drag from an empty cell to adjacent empty cells, they will all that wasn't necessary. I just wanted it to be the same-ish. Yeah, so if you click on drag from one empty cell to any other empty cells, they will become joined rooms. So if you click on a room, it will select that room. But probably on click release. Left click, release. Okay, so if you click and release on one cell, it just creates a room. If you drag, if you like hold down on multiple empty cells, they'll all join together. If you release on a room, it will select it. If you hold and drag on a room, it will create a door with adjacent room. And if the room already has a door, then doing the same thing twice will basically join them. And you know what? That's probably enough that will be fun to do on stream. Let's try it. Let's just try it. We can code this much in 10 minutes. That's ambitious. Because we don't need mGUI. This is just the mouse. I'm going to draw a grid. I'm just going to connect them. Let's see how it goes. I mean, it's probably going to take like an hour, but that'll make it a longer stream than usual. I think I'll just have to take a break in a few minutes. And then come back and finish the prototyping. Let's do it. I have Sepulcher right here. I made it already ready to go. Let's make sure this room is the right size. And let's make it 40 by 40. So if I load this up, actually hold on, let's create a sprite. This is just a testing thing, right? So let's make it 80 by 80. Oh. No, that's the wrong grid. It should tile. Ooh. Very good. Okay, so this should fit on my screen quite nicely and be a grid. Game Maker. I'm going to delete you. It's fine. That was the Opera GX version. Hooray! Sepulcher is on Opera GX. Not gonna happen. I put Daughter Dreams on there. It's kind of neat. I don't hate Opera GX, but I am annoyed by it opening by default. Okay, that's the right size. Just as a basis for the grid. Okay, let's make that. And this is all prototype code, so I'm going to do draw. It will not use room space eventually, because I do not want, I want to be able to pan the canvas infinitely, which is a little bit ambitious. Which also will mean I'm going to have to resize the dungeon structure every time you add a room outside the bounds of it. So it'll be kind of awkward. But for now, I'll just confine it to the room space so that I don't have to do any fancy math or camera tricks to make it work. Okay, here's our double for loop. What is going on? Yep, go on, figure it out. Uh-huh, yeah. There's an assignment operator. What did I do wrong? Am I crazy? Game Maker, you're slow today. That is an assignment operator. Huh? Is Feather confused or am I confused? I'm confused. I can't. Wow. Oh boy. It is too late for coding. I swapped my for loop parameters. Everyone unsubscribe. It's over for me. Again, don't make silly mistakes. Oh, that's blinding. Okay, it's fine. This is for... This is all prototype code. It does not matter, so I'm just gonna make a... God, I forgot how GameMaker array syntax works every single time. Okay, let's do it like this. I'm doing it all, like this is scuffed code, but I'm trying to keep it functional enough for... Okay. They're all like gray. That's an assignment operator. Okay, Feather. Whatever. You do you. Feather's tired too, just like me. Oh. Hello, latency. Getting, somewhat scuffed Wi-Fi. I was not dropping frames, and now I am. Great. Well, we'll see if it passes, or if I die. If I die, I will probably not come back. There will be no ghost stream if my internet crashes. Is it still going? How's it looking? Is it gonna feel better? Okay, we're almost back up to 5,000 kilobytes per second. Actually refresh. Well, we shall see. There we go. I think it's good. I could be wrong. Because that sets them all to light gray. Let's make the buffer more so they're smaller. Okay, now let's get a mouse cursor update. How should I do that? I want a step event for that. Create event, add event, step. Cancel. Cell Y. So that should do that. If this is, don't copy this code. It's really stupid. I'm going fast. That's what we're here for. It's not quite right. Oh, I remember how. This should be floor. Kind of mesmerizing. It's fine. So that highlights it. Then I just need to Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that. Okay, I shouldn't have changed anything. Now I just want to have a step event where if mouse check button released and be left. There, I can place some squares. Wait. Let's do some pixel art. I don't know what to draw. Very scary. There's our buddy OTL, back again from the previous stream. Heck yeah. Alright, I would do more on this, but it's actually just way too hot in my room. So instead, I'm going to end the stream, take a break, cool off, maybe go somewhere else to work. And I'll do more of this, but off stream. I'll post some pictures in some screenshots in the Discord server, so if you want to see what I do later, check it out in there. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will be back in another day, another era, with Sepulcher as a actual tool to use for future design work. See everybody later. Like and subscribe, you know the deal. And have a nice day. Bye for now.